Hello, my name is Chinenye Uwadileke, and I am an Education USA advisor with the United States Consulate General in Lagos, Nigeria. Today, I will be talking to you about step 2 of our 5-step process of studying in the United States. And the step 2 is to finance your studies. Yes, I'll be showing you how you can fund an undergraduate education in the United States. So come along with me as I explore some new terms and give you some tips on how you may be able to fund your studies in the United States. So, some myths and mindsets that a lot of people have is that money grows on trees, and all they need to do is just ask for financial aid or scholarship and they're going to get it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. There are certain things that you need to do if you're looking to get a full scholarship to study in America. And that's exactly what I'm going to be telling you about today. There is no free lunch in America. Scholarships don't come as easily as you think they do. And even when they do, they're not as full as you want them to be. There's definitely partial financial aid. So some of those myths that once I just apply to a school and ask for a scholarship, I'm going to get it, doesn't really hold. Now, what are some basic financial aid premises? First off, you have to know that financial aid policies differ from one institution to another. One institution might be giving merit-based scholarship, another may not be giving merit-based. All they give you is based on some need. Some institutions have a cap, that's a ceiling, a specific amount of money that they can give to international students. And beyond that amount, they can't give you anything else. Some institutions have financial aid that has been earmarked for certain countries or certain categories of people. For example, they might be targeting students from a war-torn country because they want to encourage those students to go to school. Another institution might be targeting students that are first generation. That means they're the first in their family to ever attend college. So when you're doing your research on which schools can give a scholarship or financial aid, you want to make sure that you know what the financial aid policy is. You also want to be aware that competition is 10 times higher when you're applying for admission with financial aid than when you're applying for admission without financial aid. Because very few people don't want free money, okay? Most people usually would say yes to free money that allows them to go to school. So you must be sure that you're putting your best foot forward when you're competing for any financial aid the school has to offer. You also want to be sure or know that partial funding is much easier to get than full funding. So don't give up and say, the school only gives me 10,000 and I'm just going to give up about this. No, keep pushing. Now you also want to plan early, start early. If you want money from any institution in the US, there are deadlines. So don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till you have your admission before you start thinking of, okay, what scholarship am I going to apply for? Do they have financial aid to offer? Start early, plan early, and you will see success. Now, what exactly is financial aid? I've used that term around a bit. Financial aid is basically any money that your college that you're applying to, a government in that state, or the federal government, organizations, whether private or public, give you to be able to pay for college. Sometimes that money is free, sometimes it is not. That means you would have to pay back, okay? So basically, in a nutshell, financial aid is any money that helps you pay for college. I'll tell you about the different types of financial aid. There are scholarships, there are grants, there is work study, and there are loans. And let me break down each of them into bite sizes for you. Now, scholarships are basically money that does not have to be paid back. Usually it's awarded based on merits or partially on merits, okay? That means you've done something to deserve it. Grants don't have to be paid back, and they're usually awarded based on need, your financial need. Now, for another type of financial aid that you can be given is like a work study position. Work study is basically any work that allows students to take a part-time campus job as part of their financial aid package. But you have to be careful as an international student. You can't work for more than 20 hours a week when school is in session. So, and you also need to know that work-study positions are part-time and they pay just minimum wage. So it's not going to be enough for you to offset the entire cost of attending a US institution. And finally, another type of financial aid are loans. Loans are money you borrow. They need to be paid back, usually over an agreed period of time, and most likely with interest. Sometimes that interest compounds over the years. As an Education USA advisor, I would say don't take out a loan. It's not something we advise international students to do at all. Now, what are some terms that I'm going to be talking to you about today and that you will see on many websites when you open it? EFC, your expected family contribution. COA, the cost of attendance, sticker price, and net price. And let me break down each of them in bite sizes for you. EFC, when we say EFC, we mean how much money you and your family are expected to contribute to studying in the US, okay? It's a measure of your family's financial strength, and that amount is used to determine how much financial aid you're going to be given. The second term is the cost of attendance. It's the total amount of college expenses before you receive financial aid. So the cost of attendance would be the tuition and fees, room and board, books, supplies, living expenses, the entire cost of attending a college for 1 year. The third term is the sticker price. And this is the amount that most schools list on their brochures and on their websites. So that amount you see that seems very high, $50,000, $70,000, $80,000, that's the sticker price. However, the difference between sticker and net price is that the net price is the sticker price minus any financial aid that you receive. It's what you actually pay to attend a college. So don't be afraid when you see those high amounts on a college website. Just know that the net price, by the time they remove this financial aid that you're given, the net price is what you're eventually going to be paying. And some schools or institutions on their website have what is called a net price calculator. So that way you can determine how much aid you're likely to receive and how much you're eventually going to be paying. That's your net price. The next thing I want to talk to you about are the different policies. Many institutions have different policies when it comes to financial aid and different policies when it comes to admissions. And it's very important for you to know, okay? There, according to, from schools, the financial aid policies could either be that they offer merit-based aid or need-based aid. And for admissions, it could either be that they are need-aware or they are need-blind. And I will break down each of them for you. When a school says that their financial aid policy is to give you merit-based aid, that means they're looking at your personal achievements in school, in the arts, in athletics, or any other area. So if you've excelled in something, you definitely want to show an institution that gives merit-based aid what you have done. This is your opportunity to blow your trumpet. Tell a school that you can write, that you can sing, that you play sports and you play it to a very high level, that you've excelled academically, you've won competitions for your school. These are things that a merit-based institution would like to see. Now, for schools that award need-based financial aid, they're looking at your family's inability to pay for the full cost of attending a college that you qualify for. Well, here's one thing I like to say. Most institutions that give need-based aid are giving it to you based on merits. So you cannot be a straight C student and be looking at schools that offer need-based aid and hoping to get in. They're going to look at whether you merit to be admitted to the institution before they can meet your need. Now, there are also different policies when it comes to admissions, okay? Some schools practice what they call need-aware policies, where they look at your ability to pay before they decide whether they're going to accept you or not into their university. And if you cannot pay, some institutions that are need-aware or need-sensitive may decide not to admit you. So you want to be careful that you're not putting all your eggs in only institutions that are need aware or need sensitive, especially if you need a full funding to be able to attend a school in the US. Now, schools that have a need blind policy are institutions that don't look at your finances. They don't care if you have just one dime or you have $1 billion US. What they're looking at is, are you admissible? And if you're admissible, a school that is need blind will do everything that they can. Most times they say they meet 100% of your demonstrated need. They will do everything they can to meet your financial needs so you can attend. So you want to be careful that and know the different policies when it comes to financial aid and the different policies when it comes to admissions before applying to an institution. Now, you also want to know if you're looking for a full scholarship. That's the number one question I get. Oh, how am I going to pay for college? Oh, I'm going to get a full scholarship. But you need to be aware that those institutions that can give you a full ride, when I say full, they're paying your tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, everything. Some will even throw in a plane ticket for you. They practice what's called a holistic admissions process. They are looking at the whole you. They're looking at your standardized test, and they're looking at what you scored on those standardized tests. They're looking at the curriculum under which you learned, and they're looking at how rigorous that curriculum was. Did you challenge yourself? They're looking at your grades. Did you do as best as you could? They're looking at your class rank. Those schools, they love valedictorians, best in a school. They love salutatorians, second best. They love the top 10% of any graduating class, okay? They're reading your essays. They want to learn about you and know you and gain insight into what you've been through, your experiences. They're also looking at your family income. They're looking at all these things so that they can create what's called a very diverse class. And the much you can show that you are diverse, the better for you when you're applying to such institutions. So yes, it is possible to get a full ride, but no, it's not just one thing that you should do to get that full ride. They're looking at the totality of you as a person and what you bring to the table. Now, when you're applying for financial aid, there are some forms that you need to be aware of. You have the FAFSA, which is for US citizens and permanent residents. It's the free application for federal student aid. It is a form that's used to determine if you qualify to receive financial aid from the federal government. That's the US federal government. Now, if you're a US citizen or permanent resident, I urge you to make sure that you're applying on time and filling out the FAFSA so that you can get, no matter how little the amount, you can get some financial aid through those means. If you're an international student, you're filling out what's called the ISFA, the International Student Financial Aid Application. Not every institution would offer you this form, but if it's available, I highly encourage you to fill it out. Or for everyone, whether US citizen or international, you can fill out what's called the CSS profile. Some schools, about 400 US colleges and universities, ask for the CSS profile. And you can find the website there, cssprofile.org. However, one thing for you to note is that the CSS profile is a form that you pay for. So you have to be careful that you are not spending so much money paying just to get financial aid. Some schools have fee waivers. The ISFA and the FAFSA are completely free. So you might have to fill out one or two of these forms. It's very important for you to start early, complete it on time, and complete it truthfully. They're going to be asking you questions about your finances, your assets, your liabilities, your expenditures, what you own, what you spend, your medicals, all those things, who your family is paying tuition and fees for, where they are. It's a very invasive form, but it's very important that you're as honest as possible, because when they look at how much that you can truly contribute, it will determine how much financial aid that you can be given. Now, I would love for you to consider some certain types of institutions when you are applying. Think about tuition-free colleges. There are colleges that don't charge you tuition. Some people call them work colleges. That means you're going to be working whilst you're studying, and that work is used to pay your tuition and fees. Again, very competitive institutions, so don't think about them and say, oh, I'll just apply and I'll definitely get in. Everybody else is applying. Think about women's colleges. If you're a woman, there are certain women's colleges that can offer you a full ride, and they love to see that as a woman you're in financial need, but you're very smart, so you are qualified but you're also in need, and these are colleges that will consider you. Then liberal arts colleges as well. Many of them tend to be very expensive, especially the private liberal arts colleges. However, they also tend to be quite generous because they have large endowments and they want to attract a lot of diverse students. So make sure you are considering colleges like the liberal arts and science colleges when you do apply. I also want you to think about ways you can save when it comes to applying to college in the United States. And some ways for you to save are to think about applying to a community college. You can start at a community college, they're much less expensive. When you're done with a community college, and you can transfer to a 4-year institution. So you do your first 2 years at a community college, you save a lot of money, then you transfer and do your next 2 years and your final 2 years at a 4-year institution. Or you can decide to live off campus in your second year. It's usually a bit cheaper. You can cook your meals. You don't have to be on a meal plan, which tends to be quite expensive. That's another way for you to save. You can also decide to front load your credits. That's take as many credits as you can offer. For international students, you need to take a minimum of 12 credits for you to be in status. You can decide to take 16 to 18 credits per semester so that you can graduate 1 semester or 1 year in advance. Another thing you can do is to maybe take one of your classes at a community college and transfer those credits to a community college. That's something that, or to a 4-year institution rather. That's something that can help you defray your cost of attendance at a 4-year institution. And then I would love to leave you with some final tips. You want to apply early. They say the early bird catches the worm, and that is so true when it comes to financial aid. In fact, sometimes it's the deadline for financial aid is much earlier than the deadline for admissions. So please don't be that student that, waits till the very last minute and is now wondering, oh, where's the scholarship? It's probably going to be gone. So make sure you're applying early. Second thing I want you to do is to remain flexible, okay? Don't be fixated on that one institution or those 2 or 3 institutions that you've always known all your life. You want to explore as many institutions as you can think of. Remain flexible also in terms of your major. I remember one of my students wanted to really study engineering, but there was this institution that was offering him a full ride to study computer science. And I said, come on, think about it. Computer science, engineering, the difference isn't that much. Besides, you can always do engineering for your master's. He took my advice, he applied to that institution, and he got in, and he's studying right now in the US on a full ride because he was flexible in terms of what he wanted to study. But also be flexible in terms of where you want to study. Don't just, like I said, look at those institutions that you've always known, big brand name institutions. Everybody's applying there. Look for those hidden gems that I talked to you about. And then finally, I want you to go the extra mile. If a school asks you for an extra letter of recommendation, what you've been doing since you applied, an extra essay or 2 or 3, please go the extra mile. One of my students who's at Stanford said when she opened the application, they asked for 11 essays. I know the essays were not all the same length, but 11 essays is enough to throw that person who is not willing to work hard away, but she focused on those 11 essays, wrote them, submitted them, got into Stanford. And right now she's, a rising sophomore at Stanford University. So think about what you can do to boost your application profile. Dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure your application is polished, okay, that there are no typos, no avoidable errors. And these are what institutions will look at when they're considering you. A few websites you can do and you can use to start that research is fundingusstudy.org, bigfuture.collegeboard.org, nces.ed.gov/college navigator. That's the Department of Education website. fastweb.com and guaranteedscholarships.com. These are all websites that I promise you will help you narrow your search to institutions that offer financial aid, especially the first one, fundingusstudy.org. It helps you narrow your search to institutions that offer financial aid for international students, because fundingusstudy.org was put together by the Institute of International Education. and they make a habit to update it every single year. So I encourage you to check out this website, start your research today. Don't wait, okay? Because the deadlines are usually very early. And I promise you, I will see you hopefully with a testimony about how you have a full ride. If you'd like to connect with us, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Our handles are on the screen as you see, EducationUSA Lagos, and we'll be glad to answer any of your questions. Once you've done your research, please ask me any questions regarding funding your studies or financing your studies in the United States. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time.